You're in the emergency room of the Philadelphia City Hospital. I'm gonna ask you some questions. Where were you sitting on the train?
Against the window.
In the passenger car?
Yes.
You're certain you were in the passenger car?
Yeah. Where are the other passengers?
Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 34 of the DNA Film Wars podcast. Today we are discussing the film Unbreakable, directed by M. Night Shyamalan,
Also written by M. Night Shyamalan.
and starring Bruce Willis,
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, Robin Wright, and what's the kid's name?
Spencer Treat.
Spencer Treat Clark. Yep. So, we are going back and reviewing a movie that came out in 2000.
19 years ago.
19 years ago. Split is coming out. And no, Split just comes out. Glass. We've already seen Glass. What?
What was that?
Yeah, we've already seen it. We're a little lazy, but we were reviewing this film leading up to
anticipation to our review for Glass.
Yep.
As we discussed in our 2019 look forward episode, we've changed up our format, so you'll notice it in this video if you recognize or see that our format has changed. It doesn't seem like it's quite the same. That's the reason why.
Yep. So we're gonna just kind of walk through the plot. It's been a week since we watched this movie, so that's kind of fuzzy already. It's been more than a week. It's been like 2 weeks.
It's been like a week and a half.
Yeah, God.
But
I wrote some notes to kind of...
Yeah, because your parents were still here when we watched the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's been about a week and a half, 2 weeks since we've seen this. And so it's...
forgive me if I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but we kind of got lazy about recording this. So
we had a lot of stuff to do.
So
let's go
as we know, this is the first film in the Unbreakable Split Glass trilogy.
The quote-unquote Shyamalan superhero trilogy.
I haven't done a lot of reading on this. I don't know how much he really planned on having this trilogy. I know that...
I think what you said earlier today is probably really what happened, and that's when we were in the process of making Split, he realized that some themes kind of matched up with some things that he had thematically throughout Unbreakable, and he's like, wow, I got a really good idea. And it's like, someone call out Bruce Willis, and we'll add a twist ending of this is actually a unrelated sequel to that would become a related sequel to Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And so that's why we got Glass.
Yep.
But I'm sure now he would say that 20 years ago when he was in the process of writing this film, he was like, I had 3 movies planned from the beginning.
Okay, George. Lucas. That's what George Lucas says. I had all this planned out from the very beginning. No, you didn't, George. No, you didn't, Shyamalan.
But it is what it is.
So this movie starts out. We start out with Mr. Glass, actually.
Yep. Being born
in a department store
in Philadelphia
for some reasons.
Yeah, why was she in a department store? That's our biggest. That's our first problem.
Yeah,
right
she's just laying there in the department store, like the bag. Like they didn't take her to the hospital; they took her to the bag of the department store, and she has this baby.
Well, the question is, was she like living there or something? Like, what's going on?
Maybe she's working there. I don't think she's living there. I think she's like working there, or maybe she's just shopping there. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not what's important. What's important is a doctor comes in and is like, "Oh, his bones are broken," and so we're like, "Okay." He's something wrong with him. We will come to find out he has what's commonly known as brittle bone disease. I don't know what they said the technical...
Imperfectia. Osteogenesis imperfecta.
All right, well, Dylan tells me it's called osteogenesis imperfecta. Anyway, brittle bone disease is what's important here. And then we go to the train scene, the infamous train scene.
I don't know about infamous.
No, it's a train scene. Where Bruce Willis, he is hitting on this woman on the train.
Takes off his wedding ring.
And then she's like, I'm married, or she's like, I got a boyfriend or something. And he's like, oh, oops. And she walks away, and it's really awkward. And then he puts his head against the window, and then the train starts shaking. And then
we find out that it crashed.
Jump cut. He's in the hospital. All the patients are dead.
Actually, jump cut to Joseph Dunn, who is his son's character's name, laying upside down on the couch, flipping through the TV channel, and he flips to find out that this train is derailed, and there's only one survivor, and they find out that it's Joseph or David. And
David. Yep.
Go to the hospital.
He's the last survivor. So, of course, this sets in motion the plot, which is like, he starts thinking, okay, well, Mr. Glass figures out about this. I don't remember how it all goes down, but...
He hears about it on the news.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, I think you're invincible. And, at first Dave is like...
He's like, when's the last time you were sick or whatever?
Yeah, and he's like, don't talk to my son. Da-da-da. And, they had the whole thing, when's the last time you were sick? And he goes around and asks people, and he's like, never. But, like, one of his big arguments is that he almost drowned when he was a kid. And, of course, it comes out later, water is his weakness. And then, of course, his other big argument is, I hurt my leg in a car crash. We will come to find out he lied about hurting himself in the car crash so that he wouldn't have to play football and that he could be with his wife, who is a hippie and doesn't like violent sports, such as football. So, I'm sorry, that was offensive.
That's rude to hippies.
Right. So, so the first part of this movie, I like this setup here. I like the idea Shyamalan's going for as a superhero who doesn't know he's a superhero.
It's an interesting concept.
It's a very interesting concept.
On paper.
On paper. Don't you like this movie?
I do, but I still have problems with it.
It's a very interesting concept on paper. And I think the setup here is all right. I will say one of my big problems with the movie is the relationship between David Dunn and his wife, Audrey.
Which we find out early on in the film, they're kind of estranged a little bit. They're having some marital problems.
They're living in the same house still. They're not sleeping in the same room. I don't know. This may just be me. I think their relationship, the direction their relationship made this, and the direction their relationship takes in this movie is kind of dumb. She's like, "You gonna go take me on a first date, and we can start like all over like we're brand new." I'm like, that's kind of dumb. Like, I don't know. Like, just work out your problems or don't. Like, I don't think going on dates is gonna automatically fix it. You're still going to have the same problems when the date's over.
Just work it out.
Just work it out,
And then we also find out that because of these marital problems, the reason he was on the train that derailed, which comes to, leads to the whole situation where the whole, like, are you a superhero, are you not a superhero thing. He's looking for a job in New York City, I believe, is what is said, so...
Yeah, he did, I guess he got it. Like they say later on, he'll get it, but... So so we go through all these motions, of course, and we're having these interactions with Glass and with Mr. Glass, and then we have this scene at the football stadium, or I guess he works at football stadium.
Yeah, he works at Temple University.
Temple University football stadium, where we figure out not only is he super strong, but he can see.
He has like a premonition type.
Yeah, he
thing
can
where
kind
he
of see people what
touch
they've done
people and see their quote unquote sins. Yeah.
Yeah. So he bumps into this guy. First, he bumps into M. Night. Had the kind of little funny scene where
because M. Night always has a cameo.
Yeah, and then he or did he bump into M. Night later? I think he bumps into M. Night later.
I think the first person he bumps into is the guy that has the gun.
Yeah, he bumps into the guy with the gun while Mr. Glass is there. And he knows exactly what kind of gun the guy has, and of course then Mr. Glass
chases him
down, falls down the subway stairs, and breaks all his bones. But he sees the gun, and it's the exact same thing that David.
So he's now even more convinced.
So he's more convinced. So then we have this kind of second act where Mr. Glass is interacting with David's wife in the hospital, and he figures out, like he had this car crash, but then he figures out through his wife saying she doesn't like football that he thinks David faked it. We find out that's true.
We learned some...
and then we go through David. He's like...
kind of testing out his abilities.
He's this weightlifting scene.
Yeah.
Where he
which I guess you kind of have a problem with, right?
The weightlifting scene?
Yeah.
No, I just said in my notes here that I thought this movie was slow up through the weightlifting scene. I will go ahead and say practically nothing happens in this movie. I mean, which I don't mind the fact that there's no action. I like the down-to-earth superhero, like the really down-to-earth feel of this movie. I don't want some big action sequence. I think the action sequence we get at the end is enough. But the problem is when you have that kind of movie, you have to, when you're doing this character type drama, you have to have me really invested in the characters, and you have to have interesting subplots going on. I don't care about these characters. I think the best character in this movie is Mr. Glass, but I don't really care about David Dunn or his family, if I'm being honest. And I just think the drama with the relationships kind of dumb, like I said. And I don't know. I just don't find like all the stuff that's going on very interesting. We do have a scene not long after that weightlifting scene, after David tries to convince his son that he doesn't have superpowers, that I think is probably maybe the best scene in the movie, where the kid gets the gun out that we've seen that he has earlier. They showed it in the closet. His son gets the gun out.
Yeah, and then obviously he believes that his dad is invincible, so he goes and points it at him.
It's a tense scene.
It is a tense scene.
It's
really
a
good.
well executed scene. I really liked it.
And obviously the situation escalates to a point where you almost think he's going to shoot him, but
I think
the thing that actually backs him down is the fact that David says to him, if you shoot me, you're right. You're right. If you shoot me, I won't get hurt. But if you shoot me, I'll leave.
Yeah, I'll leave. I'll go to New York. I was kind of wondering, like, had we seen enough from the kid, like, for him to be, like, motivated enough to go to this extreme by this point in the movie? I was like, oh, I don't know. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, I'll go with it. I think it was executed well enough. I like the scene itself, even if I don't know about the motivation behind the actual act. That I'll go with it. Okay, it's fine. So I guess that pretty much covers the first two acts. So then we get into the third act, and this is where I think the movie, for me, really falls apart right here.
In classic Shyamalan
fashion. What I believe should have happened in this film is that early on, or towards the middle of this movie, Bruce Willis should have accidentally bumped into this guy that he's going to fight at the end and seen it. And then he should have had like this dilemma, do I want to go? I can't go to the police because all I have is say, oh, I bumped into this guy and I read his mind. I mean, you can't really go.
Yeah, that's not giving you anything.
He should have had this dilemma. Should I go and I'm not really sure if these powers are real yet. Himself, he's not really sure. Should I go and try to save these people, or do I want to get involved in this kind of superhero antic? Do I just want to stay out of it? Do I just want to try to be a normal person? That should have been the dilemma. Instead, we get this scene that I think is kind of dumb, where he calls up Mr. Glass and he's like, "Okay, what do I do?" And then he goes to the subway station or whatever, and he puts his hands out and starts filling people as they walk by. And I just didn't feel like that was really kept in with the character that he had established up to that point. I feel like
kind of his character up until that point is kind of wary of the situation.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't really believe this. This is not true or whatever. And then he has this conversation with Glass or Elijah Price, and he's like, well, what if I am a superhero? And then they have a whole conversation. He's like, well, what do I do? And he's like, well, go to a public place.
Yeah, I didn't really like that scene. I think he should have, like I said, had a dilemma. Should I go help them? Are they even there? Or what should I do? And then at the end, he should be okay. I believe in myself enough to know that situation's actually happening. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take on this responsibility. I'm gonna go save these people. Like I said, that scene did not work for me. The scene that we get at the end, this fight scene here,
I like it.
He's not flying and throwing people through walls and stuff. He puts the guy in a chokehold,
and this guy's just throwing him around, kind of
throwing him around. It's
throwing
obvious.
him into walls or backing up into walls.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. It's like the little mannequin they have attached to this guy's back, but whatever. And then he gets thrown into the pool, and obviously water's his weakness.
But he finds a way out because he freed the people in the house, and they help him out.
Yeah, and I just think I don't know. I think it's a well-structured scene. I think for this kind of low-key superhero movie, down-to-earth superhero movie.
It's really, because I guess a lot of people would consider this more a character piece, diving into, the minds of David and Elijah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a character piece.
It's a character piece. And that this is a great way to, say that it's a superhero film. You just kind of get this one climactic scene of him showing off what he has the potential to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good way of doing that and establishing that. But, it's a good scene.
I like it.
And then, of course, we have the big M. Night twist at the end.
Yeah, we go to the comic book star.
Which is honestly a pretty good twist. I liked it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how old I was the first time I watched it. I was probably an early teenager. I didn't see it coming the first time, honestly.
Neither did I, not the first time I watched it.
I mean, now looking back on it, it's so obvious. But it's one of Shyamalan's better twists. He goes and he shakes Elijah's hand, and he sees...
Yeah, he like meets him after he's like, he walks into like, Elijah's comic book store. He's like, well, I did it. I saved these people or whatever. That was me. And then he goes to shake Elijah's hand because Elijah's like, well, congratulations or whatever, and goes to shake his hand, and then he sees all the terrible things that Elijah's done. And we find out that Elijah's actually responsible for the train crash as well as other things. We find out he's responsible for a plane crash that killed a couple hundred people. He's responsible for a hotel blowing up or something like that and a couple hundred people dying.
Yeah.
As well as the train derailing and killing all the people that David Dunn was on. And it's implied that he has done this before those incidences and would continue to do this had he not found David Dunn.
Because his whole goal is he's
trying to prove superheroes are real.
Yeah, he says that if someone like me whose bones break at this slightest touch, there's got to be someone at the polar opposite, and that's why he's looking for his purpose. He thinks his purpose is to be the arch enemy of whoever this guy is.
And he also believes, it's stated earlier in the film by Elijah, that he believes that comic books are like a form of history.
Yeah.
He believes they're a form of history, similar to like hieroglyphs in like caves or whatever. He believes that these comic books that people write and draw are their way of depicting things and people that they have seen or encountered in their real life, and they've just translated into a form of art and literature that people enjoy.
Yeah.
So he really is all about, superheroes are a real thing, and that's his largest motivation, so he wants to try to find his opposite. And obviously he finds that in David Dunn.
Yeah. And of course David Dunn reveals to his kid that he is superpowered by giving him the little newspaper clip and being, kind of hinting that was him, but don't tell his mom. But overall, I guess I'll just get into my final thoughts on this movie. Like I said, I think it is like a lot of Shyamalan movies, it's a good idea that's it's somewhat poorly executed. I think that it's not a well-made, I don't think it's stretched out well into a feature-length film. I understand it as a character drama, not an action movie. I don't mind that fact. I just don't really care about the drama going on in this movie, being honest. This David Dunn and his son do have an interesting relationship. I think that's the strongest relationship in this movie. I think that Samuel L. Jackson as Glass is really great. I think all the acting is pretty decent across the board here. The little kid gets on my nerves a little bit, but I don't care about David Dunn's relationship with his wife, and I'm bored throughout this movie. I'm just bored. But I like the concept, and I'll forgive a movie for quite a bit if I really like the concept they were going for. So if I have to give it a star rating, I'll give it, I'll go 3.5 breakable bones out of 5.
3.5 breakable bones out of 5. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on some of your points. Most of your problems with this movie, they don't really bother me. I see where you're coming from about the family dynamic and the family drama that goes on with him and his wife. It doesn't necessarily bother me. I don't think it really hinders the plot in a whole lot of ways. I've always enjoyed this movie from the first time I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely one of Shyamalan's better films. I think I'd still put it out of the ones that I've seen, I'd probably still put it behind Sixth Sense at number 1 and Split at number 2, which I guess tells you how I feel about Split, which we're getting ready to review.
Yeah, I'd put it 4th behind those two and then Signs.
That's fair. But I really enjoy this film. I think it's really good. I think it's pretty well acted as far as, Bruce Willis goes, and especially on Samuel L's part. I think Samuel L is really good in this movie. Robin Wright's not terrible. I don't have a problem with her. I think you're right about Spencer Treat. What's his last name? Clark?
Yeah.
He does kind of get obnoxious, a little bit annoying at times. I don't really care for him a whole lot. But overall, he's not terrible. He just kind of gets a little on my nerves at times. But overall, I think this is a really good movie. I think it's a good M. Night film. Some of his better work, and I enjoy it. I'll give it, I don't know. I'll give it 4. What's something I can give it? I'll give it 4 green rain ponchos out of 5.
Okay.
That's what old David wears.
Well, all right. I guess that's about all we have to say about Unbreakable here. I guess go ahead and plug our social media site. Well, actually, I guess let me tell you what's coming up. Split will be next.
Followed by the Phantom Menace, which will kick off our Star Wars series.
Followed by Glass.
Followed by Tentative, unknown movie yet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So, I guess go ahead and plug those social media sites.
Yeah, man, I'll go ahead. We are up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're at DNA Film Wars, all lowercase, no space on all those platforms. So go ahead and give us a like or a follow and tell your friends about us.
Yeah, as always, you can contact us with any specific questions and or comments at dnafilmwars@gmail.com. You can leave us a review on any of the major podcatching services that we are on.
We're also up on YouTube with our audio files. Watch out for those.
Yep. So, as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Dylan. We'll catch you in the next one.
I know what's going through your mind right now. You're searching for meaning in all of this. Know one thing. 131 people died so you could finally understand the destiny for which you were born. Are you ready for the truth?